What's happening, everyone? It's Jeff. Up next on the Second Chance podcast, Jeff Robertson, we're going to have Elijah Hines. Elijah and I connected. He is a strength coach and personal trainer based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. And he's going to walk us through just battling his own not negative vices like alcohol, video games, how he transformed his body, mindset, um, all the things, and ultimately ended up losing 60 pounds and completely overhauling his lifestyle. So much that he ended up going into work into fitness himself. So let me know what you think. Thank you for liking, sharing, and commenting. As always, you're the most one who needs to hear this. Please share it with them. Getting your life in order and working on there's the reward. Getting your life in order and working on yourself and just dialing in some kind of fitness so you can be around here as long as you possibly can for the rest of us to enjoy your presence. And I say that, I coach people on that is sometimes we get wrapped up in our own selfishness and we don't realize how much people care about us and how much people value us, and how much they want us to be around. So sometimes we have to put our own selfishness out of the way, put that bowl of ice cream down, Jeff. Put that case of beer away, Jeff, and really dial in and just focus on some good habits so you can be here on this earth and live this life that we get to enjoy out of you for as long as we can. So let me know what you think. Can't wait to hear from you. All right, welcome back to the Second Chance podcast. Today, we've got an inspiring guest joining us, Elijah Hines, a strength coach and personal trainer based in Raleigh, North Carolina. Elijah's journey from battling negative vices like alcohol and video games to transforming his body, mindset, and life is one you don't want to miss. After losing 60 pounds and completely overhauling his lifestyle, he's on a mission to help others live their highest quality of life through training, nutrition, and mental mastery. He's been in the fitness game for over 10 years, and today he's here to share his second chance story and drop some of the serious knowledge on how you can take control of your own health and fitness. Let's get going. Welcome to the show, Elijah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm excited to get to know you a little more as a fellow fitness and gym owner. I enjoy the story of how we get to where we are, and I don't think when it comes to your journey, is I think ours is similar. And I didn't get into the gym business because I was a musclehead. I got into the gym business because I needed someone to get me on track. And my journey was a little bit like we were warming up. I was kind of telling you or listening to you, but my son being born, I went to get life insurance and I was denied. And when I was denied life insurance, it set me off on this path of just physical fitness, tried to figure it out on my own for way too many years. And I ended up going to Fit Body Boot Camp. The day I left Fit Body Boot Camp after my first class, I said, I'm going to own one of these one day. And I ultimately
Wow.
went on through the path, went to work for the owners that ran the one that I was a member at, went to work for them as a coach, and made my way up to the day an owner in Fit Body Boot Camp. So I
Wow.
wanted to share that with you. Um, I've been wanting to I was going to message you that on Instagram just so you knew that, but I think sometimes it's better to say that. And that was why when I was reading and learning more about you, I'm like, ah, and so we were talking before we came up about just being a dad and how impactful that it was for me. And I got excited because Elijah's got a 1-year-old as well. So in my dad mindset, I know where you are in it, but it took me back to where I was with my son trying to get like just typical life insurance and my blood work was all out of whack. So it kicked me into this journey that ultimately, I'll tell you this, that moment kicked me into this conversation. Many years
Wow.
ago, it set me off on this path, and now you and I are here. So, um, that's enough about me, though. My wife will listen to this part and criticize me for stealing too much of your time. But tell me, man.
I'm glad you shared that with me. That's incredible, man.
Yeah. And I'm excited to learn more about yours. But you got this story, and we're going to get into it. And we'll kick off here with what was a turning point in your life that made you realize fitness was the path to your highest quality of life?
So like you said, I've been into training and working out for over a decade now. It's taken many different forms, had all kinds of different evolutions and stages and seasons and cycles. But in the very beginning, it was just my fourth or fifth year in a row of dreading the summer. Everyone else is excited. They're like, oh man, we're going to go to the pool. We're going to go to the beach. And I just hated it. Every year as a teenager, I was chubby, pale, doughy. My dad's like, just put on a shirt. I'm like, is that worse? Like, isn't that fully accepting? Like, okay, yeah, there's nothing to see here. Like, let's cover it up. Always hated it. Getting into the workforce, getting my first job. Now I'm in new social circles, and I just was not proud of the way I looked. I was ashamed of my physique, which this day and age, a lot of people will go, no, 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 you shouldn't be ashamed. You should just love yourself. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I'm so glad that I was ashamed. I'm so glad that those negative emotions came up, because ultimately that's what stirred me up and gave me the motivation, drive, and discipline to make some changes. So, not to go off on a tangent too early on in the game in the conversation, but negative emotions can be very positive if they're telling you what not to do, or what not to think, or whatever it is. So, anyways, yeah, that was a long, long time ago. I was chubby, and then I lost some weight, and then I gained some weight back, trying to get as strong as possible in the gym, get as many 45-pound plates on the bar as I could on all of my lifts. Got too big. The dirty bulk did me dirty. As people are familiar with that strategy of eating, just piling as much food as they can and trying to get swole. And I got swole, but not really the correct version. I just got fat. And then, as you said, most recently, I undid all that, lost 60 pounds. Dropping the drink had a lot to do with that. And it's funny you're mentioning, were these changes because of, okay, I'm about to be a father? Is this how I'm going to be proud of myself as a father? Is this the example I want to be to my son? I wish I could say that it was that intentional, but honestly, I feel it was very ordained from above, because I felt very called to make these changes literally right before we decided to move forward with getting her pregnant and having a child. So a lot of these changes, even my early wake up, which is now crucial for the lifestyle we have. Like, I wake up at 3 or 3:30, work out, and I'm back before they're even awake. And that had gotten instilled before we even planned on getting pregnant. So the early wake up, dropping the drink, creating the version of myself that I'm actually proud of, a version of myself where I'm like, this is going to be a solid dad versus a doughy, drunk, dumb dad, right? Like, a lot of these things happened before we even knew we were going to do this. So I feel very, very led from above, as I like to say, and I'm just continuing to listen to what's next.
Yeah, but you've overcome some hard ones, right? So you've overcome sugar, alcohol, weed, video games, which and listen, what you're gonna find out, two fitness people that's been there, is we just gonna tell you about our journey and where we are now. And you're where you are. There's no amount of shame I can throw on you. There's no amount of whatever. We're just sharing our stuff. But stories like these is what I've heard that helped me. Like, wait,
Mm.
it gave me those light bulb moments, right? And but a lot of folks are there. Sugar, alcohol, weed, video games. Which one was the hardest one to let go?
Mm. Honestly, probably sugar in a way, because alcohol at first was tough, but now it's not that much on my mind, because I've just decided that it's no longer a part of my life. So
Yeah.
for me, being black and white or binary about things makes it very easy. It's like, just deciding abstinence from alcohol is way easier than being like, oh, I'll try and manage it. I'll
Yeah.
drink one on Saturdays, or I'll indulge a little bit on the weekends. To me, that's like the slippery slope, roll the dice. You might have a few good weekends, and then one weekend out of the month, you go get barbecued and you feel terrible. So once I fully decided I am no longer drinking, it was kind of easy, actually, in a way. But with the food, with the overeating and the sugar, it's kind of always there as an
Yep.
option. Like, every meal is an opportunity to eat too
Yep.
damn much. It
Yep.
just is every
Oh,
single
yeah,
day.
in every circle, like if you go to get an X stop at a store, go to the restaurant, boom,
Oh
it's
yeah,
it.
it's
Yeah.
everywhere. It's everywhere. So for that reason, that might be the most difficult one, because I mean, to this day, I'll still have temptations, and every once in a while, I'll go on like a freaking 24-hour bender and be like, wow, I feel terrible. I have like what's almost similar to a hangover from so much sugar, and it's like, okay, that was dumb. Get back to the program. But to say I'll never do that again is unrealistic.
Yeah.
So that's a tricky one, finding out how to manage that one. To be honest, I'm still working on it to this day. But
My buddy Dustin, he taught me this thing years ago. He and I worked together, and he would. Now, every New Year's, everybody sets this resolution and all these things. For 364 days out of the year, he ate clean. We'd have drinks or have beers, but his eating was impeccable. He knew his calories. He knew his amount of protein. He's a big fella. And every New Year's Day, when everyone set their resolutions, he would go gangbusters, and he would eat. He would eat he would drive throughs, all the things. And he would make a big deal out of it. He's like, "Oh, you healthy people, I live this stuff every day. Today's my day." And so he started that, and where I was going, so I kind of embraced that as years went on. Around my son being born, I kind of embraced that mentality. And I remember the last time that I went on a New Year's and I went through that, and when I was eating, I was like, I ended up throwing half of it away. And I'm like, this sounded good, the idea and the concept. I said, but I just don't like the way I feel when this is all done. And yeah, I'm with you on that. That was,
the aftermath.
yeah, that was his strategy. It works. Like, I mean, it was a neat little thing to do, but then there was a point in time when I was like, I don't need that no more. And here's what I was going to tell you about me, a couple dads here, is my my ability, my hand to mouth, and I didn't know I was just have one. And it took me years. Like even and you're probably talking. That's not a. I couldn't just walk in like couldn't go have a beer. It'd always be two or three, or we couldn't have a drink. We'd have a couple. And then if we were at an event or something other, it was we're going it was hand to mouth, and I just had no self control when it cut. So I became real like that was something that I just worked on. And then as I started moving some things around to kind of isolate those moments, it got to where I could manage it too. So I had to, it's not something that my wife sometimes is like, oh, understand why, what's the big deal? And she's in control. And for me, my mind works a little differently. And I have to process it a little differently. So I get what you're saying, man. And,
It's funny. My wife's the same way. She can just have a thing and then go without for a week, a month, whatever.
yeah,
And for me, I do much better with all or nothing, which
yep.
for most things that I've applied that approach to, I'm ultimately better off by just saying, I'll just go without. And then it's to my benefit and it's all good, which I've been able to do with so many things. But again, the food, it's like there's always opportunities. So it's one of the biggest discipline builders is tracking calories, your macros, proteins, carbs, fats, and you hit that number and you say, okay, so that's it. Like
Yeah.
the gate is closed and nothing's coming in for the rest of the day. Like it'll blow your mind how difficult something that simple can be just for one day,
Yep. No,
for
it
3 days in
is.
a row, for a week in a row. You're saying your guy would have one cheat day a year. That's amazing. Like
Yeah.
most people, they'll do one of those kind of days every 10 to 15, 20 days.
Yep.
So 364 days a year of impeccable tracking. Hats off to that man there.
When you decided to stop drinking, how did that impact your fitness journey?
Oh, it 10x my results. I've made more results in the last year and a half than
Yeah.
I had in the previous like 3 to 4. And I knew it was affecting things, but every once in a while, maybe I'd get a PR and I was hungover and I'd be like, see, I can do both. Or the workout would start out kind of rough, but then I would get a record on something and be like, look, it's not so bad. It's a sensation feeling thing, but the tangible, like I can still pull it off.
Yeah.
And really, I was just breaking records in spite of myself. And I would have broken way more if I didn't have that in my system. I mean, that was the catalyst. I'm sitting there one morning. It's like 4:30 in the morning. I'm working out before I start taking on clients, and I'm fuzzy eyed. I was doing like shoulder press with the 40-pound dumbbells, and they felt heavy as shit. I'm like, there's no reason this should be difficult. I feel so terrible. How many hungover workouts are we going to have before it's just enough? And that's really what it takes more often than not for people to change. Is they just get tired of being tired, or they get sick of feeling sick. And it was exactly what that morning was. And it's like, let's just completely remove this. This has been massively holding me back for so long. And yeah, I'm PRing like left and right every week now. And obviously dropping the drink had a lot to do with the weight loss. That would have been very difficult to do while keeping that in the rotation. So yeah, 10x my results, letting it go.
For folks that don't know this, alcohol, when you introduce it into your body, your liver stops, it stops working on fat. It stops eliminating fat until the alcohol, it's treated as a foreign substance. And until all the alcohol is processed out of your system, your liver doesn't process fat. So when you're looking at a fat loss cutting style program, that's your issue with alcohol. And
100%.
then, a lot, and I did the same thing. Like, here's the drill. You're like, you bust your butt in the gym all week. I'm do this so I can go have those beers, right? Or I do this so I can go have those drinks, have my life. And that was, we say that, and people are saying it right now. But man, it gets to a point where you're like, is it worth it?
Uh,
Is it worth it, right? And then you're in your life, and like you say, you're busy. You're getting up 3 in the morning. You get up 4. You can't wake up in a fog. You got all these things. And you get to this point where you're like, is it worth it? Every Friday we would go have pizza and beers. That was we go eat pizza. And I remember sitting in that restaurant eating that piece of pizza, going, man, I worked too hard for this. This is not as good as I thought it was going to be.
uh,
What does you talk a lot about living your highest quality of life? What does living your highest quality of life mean to you, and how do you guide your clients toward achieving that?
yeah, just being proud of as many areas of their life as they can, if not all of them. If someone looks good and they feel good and the quality of thoughts are sound, their internal dialogue is for the most part positive and not very often negative. And if it is negative, they know how to course correct. Okay, when I start going down this route, I need to do this. If I start thinking like this, I need to go for a walk, go for a run, hit some burpees, get back in that higher frequency, positive state of mind, get the PMA going. Okay, I'm back on track. If we check all these boxes, there's no way you're not going to have a higher quality of life. It's just not possible. You can't feel better and worse at the same time.
Yeah.
If you feel better, that means you feel better. So we create this list of we take to feel better, to think better, and we execute on those as often as possible, if not every single day. And that's the eating, it's the training, it's listening to conversations like this, making sure what's going in your ears is positive information, positive wisdom that you can take and apply to your everyday life. Like there's so many small tweaks. Instead of watching this, you can watch that.
Yeah.
Instead of wasting this time, you can go work out. Instead of eating this, you can eat. It's all swaps. It's not even necessarily a new thing. You don't have to travel up a mountain and go meet some guru and do like a 20-day silent retreat. Like it's all just doing a different thing. We all have the same 24 hours. It's just doing a different thing. Instead of waking up at this time, I wake up at this time. Instead of scrolling on my phone, I meditate for 10 minutes. Instead of just spacing out, I have a to-do list. Like it's all just swaps. And the process never ends. Like I said, I went a little crazy yesterday with some snacks, right? I felt hungover this morning. So now for me, back in the day, I'd be actually hungover from alcohol. I would actually regret things I did or said the previous day. I would have a long list of things that needed to be resolved. Now at this stage, there's not as many things that need to be resolved, but they're still there. And I can get away with less and less. So the personal development process, it never ends. It's never over. Every single day is a clean slate. It's okay. Am I going to think this way and get over here? Or am I going to think this way and get over here? Let me think this way. Let me think this positive thing. Am I going to give this person bad energy, which is going to reflect right back to me, and I'm going to have bad energy? Or am I going to give them good energy? Am I going to be glad that they're here? Am I going to have a nice exchange with this person? It's all just these small decisions that people sleep on. They think it's this big, I need to go to a 3-day event and get this information right. It's all these small things throughout the day that we can all do to have this higher quality of life I'm always talking about.
Yeah. Time management. I think I've probably have accelerated my clients at the gym, I think I probably accelerated their process just their life just by helping them learn time management better. And then something look sounds just like you just said. You watch TV? Yeah. Why don't you foam roll while you're watching TV? And it's like this whole moment. You know, well, why don't are you doing this? Well, you could do this. Like just replace, just adding little things of just managing time. And where do you spend your time? And are you creating a calendar? And are you making time? And it's all there because I know like I carry a schedule. I carry a because I enjoy like I had 10 minutes between call and we're working with a client and then this interview and then I've got 15 to roll into my next meeting um with another project that I'm working on, right? So that's just my day. And
Yeah.
but I structure that through Calendly. I use time blocking. Time blocking is a superpower. And if you're not, folks, if you're listening, and you're not blocking times out and just putting everything on your calendar. And then when you see that, a great example is Elijah and I, we tried to record this 2 weeks ago and we couldn't. Right. So the issue is now Elijah, I'm like, hey, he was like, hey, this is the times that work good for me. I just had to plug him in, but it wasn't a huge lift because I know where my times are. And I can just say, hey, this is why we're recording at the time and all the stuff we are because I manage my schedule way better than I ever did. Um, dude, that's really good stuff though. The way that you've transformed and just a mentality that you pass it along to your clients. What would you say is the biggest mistake that people make when they're trying to start where we were? What's the biggest mistake people make when starting their fitness journey? And
Biggest mistake with the fitness journey, I would say the very first thing is getting rid of the drugs and alcohol if someone is consuming anything that falls into that category. That's number one. Fitness, non-fitness, just anything. If someone's starting their personal development process, their personal journey of wanting to improve, that's the very first thing I would remove because the clarity you get, I mean, it's something you just have to experience. Like someone, even once on the weekends, is enough to kind of throw off your natural clarity and quality of your thoughts and knowing, okay, I should be going in this direction, so I'm going to do these things. So it's the very first thing I would drop, especially if someone's trying to get in shape, even if they're not looking to lose weight, if they just want to maintain and do a little recomp. Like you said, the body puts all its attention on, okay, I got to get this, what I've registered as a toxin, it is a toxin. I got to get this out of the body first. So I'm not looking at anything else. I'm not worried about anything else. So you pair that with the fact alcohol already has a ton of calories. I used to think liquor was like calorie free. I was like,
yeah,
oh, I'm not going to drink beer like a dummy. I'm doing Don Julio, bro. I'm hitting the tequila. It's clear. This is like diet alcohol. And then I look it up and a shot is still like 100, 150 calories, depending on how many ounces you have. And you're like,
yeah,
oh, 5 or 6 of those, which is a normal night. That's an entire meal. So you've had an additional meal and now it's giving you the drunchies. So you want to eat, drunchies are way worse than the munchies. So now you want to eat these things that you would normally eat. So now it's double calories and your body has to process this like this compounding effect, right?
yeah.
So anyone trying to get a body they're proud of, get a physique that they're like, damn, like I like that. I feel better. That's the very first thing I would remove.
When you go into some of the mistakes and pitfalls I've seen, alcohol's a big one. But what you just said is I will navigate folks away from um, bottles of wine and cases of beer to a clear, clean tequila. In fact, you're in that 65 to 100 calories because some people are going to negotiate with me about eliminating alcohol. So I
Hard one.
teach them how to drink a little smarter so
Yeah.
that Don Julio will get you a little further where you're trying to go than the 37 beers maybe. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
and I see this happen in two ways. And I see some folks they can go all in. They can go all in and they fade as time. Some people go all in and they fade immediately. So I have friends that are reached out and want to start a new routine. They want to I want to do what you do. I'm like, yeah, hey man, you may not be ready because if you come in here, I still go gangbusters. Tell you what, if you want to come work with me, put on your tennis shoes, walk 30 minutes every day, and just check in with, like, hey, doing my every day, 30 minutes around your neighborhood, tennis shoes, focus on just working on that commitment, focus on working on that, just creating the routine. And they're like, well, why are you too good for me to come work for you? I'm like, no, it's not that at all. Is I'm going to hold you accountable. And I don't want you to be somewhere that it's going to end up frustrating both of us.
Yeah.
Because this is a job for me, and I'm going to hold you accountable, but I need you to learn how to hold yourself accountable first, and then we can start working on food. Then we can work on getting up off the floor. Then we can, because it's just some of those. It's crazy, but I seen that a lot of times to where we. I've said this a couple of times. Major Scully, and I think is the first person I heard say this, was that we uh, overestimate what we can accomplish in a year, and we underestimate what we can
Mm,
accomplish in 5.
yeah.
And it's the same type mentality. But when you approach your just the mental aspect of fitness, how important is mindset in reaching those physical goals, like your PR you were talking about?
Yeah. No, it's super important. Before that, let me go back to your previous question because you're kind of saying more fitness based, and I'm real gung ho about talking about no vitamins, no alcohol. So I kind of went
Yeah,
off on that rant again. As far as
that's all
fitness
right.
goes, like you're saying, start small, simple walks. I've had really most of my clients when they first come on, we do full body twice a week, and they all have gotten brutally strong, gotten insane results that they would have never thought possible working out twice a week, and they just never missed. Like progressive overload, a very simple progression on all their main lifts. I have gotten people freaky strong doing full body twice a week, which is not that much. Like I like training 6 times a week, and even on my rest day, I'll sneak something in. Like I love this stuff. But if someone is at a stage where they're like, okay, what's sustainable? What can I do that's not a total overhaul of my life? Full body 3 times a week is plenty. I just brought on another guy on my online team. Same deal. He's like, hey, just 3 workouts. Is that, is that because of my schedule or why do you? I'm like, trust me, dude, you're going to get freaky strong. And if this starts to slow down, we'll add a fourth day. Maybe we go up or lower. If you start enjoying body part split type training, we'll go 5 or 6 day body part split, push pull legs, whatever. But in that thought of how much can you get from how little? In the beginning, you can get a lot out of a little. So full body 2 or 3 times a week, walking every day, trying to get your steps in. That will take people very, very far before they need to get too fancy or too crazy.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And like you said, is people when they ask me though, how many days should I come? And I'm like, I want to come 3. Come, don't come to less than 3 because you see progress, you see some results, you're creating a routine, and you're paying for it, right? Don't This is something um, um, you're creating a thing, but also lean back in that conversation and say, I work out 5 to 6 days a week because it's good for my mental health.
Yeah.
And I feel it. And I said, you might catch me in here and you'll be like, man, he's slacking today. I ain't here. Maybe I'm not here for that. I'm just here. I'm here because I need to be here for a different reason too, or I need to break a sweat, or I need to get my mind right on some frustrations. And it's a great place to deliver the things sometimes when it's not going exactly to what you're expecting. How do you like and we're speaking to those folks that I'm hoping, those dads, right? We talked about that a little bit. There's the guys that need that new routine, but what's you eliminated all those major things and you're passionate about that. What's your advice for identifying and breaking free from those negative habits?
Mm. One little mental experiment, a thought experiment I'll do is I'll just imagine someone that I would indefinitely look up to, or think of someone that I do look up to, and I will copy and paste whatever habit it is or bad trait it is, put it on them and be like, would I still respect them?
Yeah.
If they did this thing that I do on a regular basis, would I hold them in high regard, or would that take them down a few points? If it takes them down a few points, that means I'm taking myself down a few points in my own mind subconsciously by doing that thing. But people don't think in those terms. They see people with success or a lot of results in the gym or whatever it is, and they think, yeah, but that's so and so. That's just how they are. Like that's just. It's like no, they do different shit. You
Yeah.
do this, this, and this. They don't do any of those things. They do this, this, and this. If you did their this, and this, you would be in the same spot or at least very close to it or closer to it. And now you're holding yourself in higher regard. Like back in the day growing up, I remember all the adults, they would look at actors and people in Hollywood and they'd be like, oh, they're so gorgeous. Look at their epic physiques, and everyone's just walking around all soft and doughy. I'm like, it's not some secret Hollywood workout. And because they have all the time in the world, because they're rich and famous, they can have this routine. They're just doing different things. They're
Yeah.
just working out. Like it's not that crazy. They're just working out and eating clean, and you're not. But before I
Managing
go on
time,
much of a
right?
rant, yeah, managing the time, managing time. That's a
Right.
big one. People are like, yeah, but they'll put themselves in this category. I'm this kind of person and I have this kind of job. Therefore, I can do this thing. That's just ultimately an excuse. But yeah, as far as how would people identify the areas they're lacking in, for me, it's that thought experiment. It's thinking in black and white terms. Is this helping or hurting? That's one of my go-tos that I'll come back to all the time. Is this helping or hurting? Is eating this helping or hurting my goal? Is thinking this helping or hurting my relationship? Is going to do that thing helping or hurting my confidence? Because it's all a sliding scale every single day for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Yesterday's wins are not today's wins. Right now, I could finish this podcast and go eat an entire cheesecake and a tub of ice cream and just sit there and zone out on the TV. And I will wake up tomorrow with way less confidence, way less charisma, way less energy than I have today because I just did those few things. So it's like,
Yeah.
we can't, there's no escaping that our actions and our thoughts massively dictate where we are in life and how we view ourselves and our confidence and all of it. So
You talk about that, their job when they factor that in. I've had clients before say, my work is this. I don't have time. Heck, I like trying to get your calories in, right? So you're working through like prepackaged protein. Hey, look, I need you on this, 0.08 to a gram. And we would set our nutrition programs like there's some meal book. You just circle the foods and put the weight, and it's done for you. It is an amazing, easy to follow. But then the pushback would be, well, I work so hard, Mark, my boss is not even giving me a lunch. And I'd go, okay, tell your boss to call me. I'll fix that. Like, tell your boss to call if you want to. Because I have this sneaky feeling that your boss is not the problem here. Is that the
yeah,
boss is giving you time, and we're going back to that time management thing. And um, it's crazy. But like when you and to speak to this, folks, everybody were kind of on this thing of what what's the first noticeable change when you talk about those fogs and clouds? When you cut alcohol out of your life, what was that first noticeable change when you were like, oh,
clarity,
yeah,
massive, massive, massive clarity. Before I go into that's funny you bring up that example of people at their jobs. I managed this pizza place years ago, and when I get there, I'm like, so how do breaks work? And everyone's like, we don't really take breaks. I was like, what do you mean? Like we do 10, 12-hour shifts? And they're like, yeah, we just work straight through. I was like, cool. So I'm not doing that. I'm going to sit down and eat a meal, and then I'll get back up and get back to work. And they're like, well, we've never done that. And then the owner of the entire company, he's in one day, and I asked him, I'm like, hey, so I'm hearing there's no breaks. That's kind of strange. And he's like, no breaks? And I was like, yes, it's not really going to work for me. So I'm going to sit down and eat a meal. That's normal, right? That's not that crazy. And he's like, yeah, of course, of course. So a lot of times, if someone just stood up for themselves or made it a priority, like I need to eat, let me communicate, let me figure it out. I'm not going to sit there while the restaurant's on fire and like orders are way backed up. Sorry, I got to take my time. I'm going to go meditate outside too. I need my self-care. Like it's not like that, but I mean, my mom, she had this job where they didn't let them use the bathroom. Literally, they didn't let them use the bathroom. And I just, every time she went to complain about it, I'm like, Mom, that would never happen to me. That would never happen to me. An adult looking at me saying, you can't go pee pee for the
Yeah.
next 10 hours, I would laugh at them.
Yeah.
Do that, and I'll be right back in a second. Or I would just leave and go somewhere else. So um, it's just funny the things that people will allow to be inflicted upon them.
Yeah. There you go.
So I
Yeah.
do
That's
just
exactly
have
it.
a normal conversation. Most people, owners, managers, whatever, if you're just normal and explain a very normal thing, they'll give you a very normal response. But if you just lie down and take it, on the flip side, they'll probably be like, I mean, yeah, it would be better if you just kept working. So as long as you're not going to complain about it, yeah, you're going to do this. But anyway, it's wanted to cover that because
Good.
that's a
No,
huge one.
listen, we
Keep
could
people let
like
their jobs get in the way, and
people.
it's just like there's a way to make it
Elijah,
work.
people need to hear that because that's not a cool crutch. That's not a cool reason not to take care of yourself. And it would drive me nuts. I'm not trying to create this atmosphere to where people lose their job or they have to go be confrontational, right? That's not
Yeah.
the whole goal. But here's what I learned was I really was able to help people navigate their life a little bit better and create new conversations. And ultimately, it came down to where they were just lack self confidence to go do it,
Yep.
right?
That's it.
So,
That's it.
I would give them, like, hey, you got the superpower, man. I'm giving you the power to go and manage this. And if you want to move into a lot of employees are coming in, and they're employees, but they want to rise into that leadership role or whatever. And I'm like, you got it. If you want to do that, listen, good leaders, this is things you got to do. These are conversations you got to have. Um, so yeah, people need to hear because sometimes what we think is okay, those guys that worked at that pizza place and said that we don't ever take breaks, that's the culture that was established. It takes an outside person to come in and go, whoa, no, this ain't cool, y'all. Because if not, you take pizza out of it and you insert negative habits, drugs, alcohol, heroin, and we're just saying it's the norm and everybody's doing it, everybody's using it. Somebody's got to come in and say, hey, this is not cool. So same type
Funny
of
you say
stuff.
that. That was actually a big part of that. I mean, it's a big part of the service industry in general, but even that specific place, a lot of people, the drivers, whatever, they were all on different substances
Yeah.
to like make it through the day, right? Like, oh, it's this long day. I got to take this thing. Whereas if we just had a normal setup and people were sitting down to eat, maybe they
Yeah.
wouldn't have even felt the need to be intoxicated for a shift. I mean, this
Good
was
culture.
in my crazy days, so I was doing similar things. I wasn't anywhere near where I am now at that stage. But yeah, as far as the alcohol goes, letting it go, the clarity was insane. Like the clarity, the confidence. People don't realize the dip that you get the next day, the next 48 hours, 72 hours from having alcohol. It might not be a soul crushing hangover where you're like, oh my God, I can't even function. But there's these little subtle things. It might be a little less confidence to speak up for yourself at your job about something we're talking about now. You might not think consciously, oh, because I had a few drinks 2 nights ago, I'm nervous to speak to my boss about sitting down to eat lunch. But it could very well be playing
Yeah.
into why you have the confidence issues to address that thing or to go talk to this person or to go pull off something you've always wanted to pull off. And it's this vicious cycle of, well, I don't feel very good because I'm not executing in these areas. Let me have a few drinks. I feel pretty good. Next day, I don't feel very good because of the drink. And now I'm not executing in these areas because I had the drink. Vicious cycle. So letting that go was massive. More confidence. I mean, even even us being on this podcast, I thought like 3 or 4 months ago, what would I even talk about if I was in this era I'm in now where I'm a coach online and in person, but I still had these negative vices? Like, how would I even have the confidence to have a conversation like this? Because they'd be like, so tell us about the importance of not drinking. And I'd be like, oh, I drink. So,
You know.
I mean, I drink. I don't really know I don't know what I can add to that conversation. It would be crazy. It wouldn't even work. So getting the confidence to put myself out there and have podcasts, have conversations, have a YouTube channel, all these things would have never happened. It's kind of like that ripple effect you were saying earlier, that catalyst, that moment of the life insurance thing. Now we're
Yep.
here having this conversation,
Yeah.
like dropping the alcohol. It's led to so many events, conversations, dialogues, opportunities. It was only in late April, early May that I had the confidence to leave my gym job and go work for myself, completely independent. Everything's under my name. There's no freaking way I would have had the confidence or the balls to take that plunge into the entrepreneurship if I was still a dumb drunk bitch. There
Yeah.
is no freaking way. 100%. I would have been, I don't know, it's kind of scary. What if it doesn't work? I would have let that fear be the louder voice. But because I dropped the alcohol and gained more confidence in this area, gained more confidence in this area, now I overall have more confidence. So I feel very good about taking this dive. So yeah, it's one of the best decisions I've ever made, is letting that shit go.
It's my entire all my like I can go back and think about a lot of negative things I could set at the footsteps of this. It's crazy too. Um, Tell me this, dude. Like, you've been coaching for a while now, and for the people that want to come in, and the folks that are working with you now, but the people that want to come in and work with you, and they want that motivation, and they want that program that you're going to help them with. How how do you continue evolving your methods to help coach your clients?
As far as like the style of the workout structure and
Yeah. Do you have like you started the guy with 3 days, right? You started your one
yeah,
fell
yeah,
off
yeah.
like on 3 days, right? And we'll start. So kind of are you going to gauge it to him? Do you have it prescribed? Is everything very prescribed to the person and their needs, or and how do you evolve that? Let's say like I wanted to lose 10 pounds, and I come in, and I lose my 10 pounds, and I'm like, all right, Elijah, thank you, I lost my 10 pounds, but they can stay, right? There's a plan where they can continue working with you. How do you kind of evolve your programs to meet those clients' needs?
Yeah, it's definitely very personalized. I pride myself on looking over everyone's week, looking at every single set, every single rep, and letting what they achieved in the gym that day inform my decision of what to do next. There's a lot of things I could do to streamline it and make it very cookie cutter, and it could save me a ton of time. And at times, my mind will go there like, should we do this a little different? Because it's very time consuming to do it the way I do it. But I know it's better. One of my mantras is better is always better. I want them to have the best results, so I'm going to put in the extra time. But yeah, as far as how things progress, I'll just look at, are they still making great progress? Are they still adding reps and adding weight over time? Let's keep it going pretty much as long as we can, unless they get the itch to train more. And back in the day, I would have pushed for them to stay more minimalist and make the gains. But I know, and you spoke on this earlier, how impactful training is on mental health.
Yeah.
For sure, it's like progress, getting PRs, getting stronger. That's a huge, huge priority for me. But if I train more to take a little bit off of that, but get a lot more mental health benefits, I will take that approach. I'll still make progress. I won't work out therapeutically to the point where I'm like regressing, like doing 3 a days and just being a total workout addict. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting weaker, but I feel better. Like I won't take it that far. But if I can slow down progress a little bit and feel and think better, I'll do that. So all that to say, if someone's like, hey, I really want to get in the gym more, let's switch to a 4 day, let's switch to a 5 day, no problem. Like if you want that, if you're excited to get in the gym, let's get in the gym. Like I used to think beginners doing 5 or 6 days a week was totally unnecessary. On one hand, it is, but I love being in the gym. If they're
Yeah.
excited and they want to get in there and they enjoy it, like let's get you in there. But yeah, as far as how to progress it, I'm very on top of monitoring their progress, seeing kind of the trends. Are you responding well to this higher volume approach? Let's keep it. Are you responding better to this higher intensity, lower volume approach? We'll keep doing that. So it's all individual based.
Well, I got two things I was going to ask you. And this one I think is turn your radios up, folks. Press pause. Press pause. Get a pen because this one's going to be the value bomb that I enjoy. This episode is going to come out. It's either going to land Thanksgiving week or it's going to be between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I'm trying to remember where I'm racked at. I know I just scheduled. I know I just skipped. I think we're going to land right around that holiday season. Um, either between either that Thanksgiving or Christmas. And you always, and that's a time of year when it's easy for everybody to say, you know what, I ain't doing nothing. My New Year's resolution, I'm gonna press pause. I'm gonna overindulge. I'm gonna do all things because that's what most folks have been trained to do.
Yep.
Um, what's that advice that Elijah has for those folks that are thinking about, I'm going, you know what? I used to hear this all the time. You know what, Jeff? Go ahead and sign me up to start January 1st. I'm like, man, if you start coming in now, it would make January 1st so much easier for both of us. But what advice does Elijah have? Is folks navigating the holidays? Listen, whether that's the physical, the nutritional, or that mental health side.
Yeah. So as far as navigating the eating, because it's a stressful thing for a lot of people. They're like, oh, it's going to be all this food. I'm going to have too much. This it's almost like this defeating prophecy before it's even happened, right?
Yeah.
For me personally, I will allow myself to indulge on those days if it's a 1 day thing. Like I can go crazy on Thanksgiving, get back to my normal routine the next day if there is a normal routine in place, and I will be back at the same weight in like 48 hours, 72 hours. It's not a big deal. Now, if someone's family is set up where they have, Wednesday engagement, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's a whole week of like different get-togethers and hangouts, and we got to do Friendsgiving too. You're going to want to be a little more methodical because it's like a week or two of, or if it's just like all of November and December, you're like, whatever, I'll just go off the rails. Like that'll set you back quite a bit. That could take a whole another month or two to undo that damage. So that's kind of a case by case basis. Is it the 1 day? Hey, enjoy yourself. Go for a long run the next day in addition to your regular thing. Go back to normal routine. No biggie. If you have days and days in a row of different hangouts and gigantic feasts, yeah, you're going to want to practice some self control. And as far as navigating January 1st, New Year's resolutions, it's kind of a thing that's very mocked in the fitness community, which is a shame. I'm already seeing these fitness accounts make the reels like, oh, it's coming, y'all. The day is coming. All the New Year's
Big
resolutions are
day.
going to be here. I'm like, that's such a shitty attitude to be like, ha ha, all these silly people that'll come for, 20 days and then they give up. They're not like me. It's
Valentine's
like,
Day.
yeah, it's like this holier than thou. It's like, how many people completely changed their life based off of a New Year's resolution? A ton, thousands, millions over the years. For sure, people have decided January 1st, I'm making this change. And yeah, a lot fell off, but if you stayed on, and they've completely changed their life. So I'm not really big on knocking the January 1st fitness people or New Year's resolutions. It's totally up to them once they get going if they're going to stay on the course or not. But I think it can be a very positive thing. Starting a new thing on a Monday can be very powerful. It's like it's the start of the week. I'm starting something new. Beginning of the week, I'm beginning a new thing. Beginning of the year, I'm beginning a new thing. I had some very intentional themes for this year and things that have taken place since I decided these were my themes. I could not have predicted. Working for myself was a big one. I have this reel. It's like halfway through December of last year, and I'm saying what my resolutions are, but it's not like specific things. It's just themes. It's just the physique. We're taking it to what was the exact word I used? Unreasonable. That's
Yeah.
what this reel I had. Like I'm going to have an unreasonable physique. I'm going to be unreasonably good at coaching. I'm going to be an unreasonably good father, good husband. And all of those things have elevated to a level that I couldn't have planned on, predicted way beyond anything I've done in previous years because I put that intention out there. So anyone that's cooking up their plan for January 1st, I say go for it. I also say, let's start now. Like better is always better. If we could start today, that's certainly better than giving yourself 3 months to like mentally prepare. Like let's go ahead and get it going ASAP. But yeah.
If you wouldn't wait that long to eat your next meal, right?
Right, right.
So but we've been trained that way. Not knocking it. Listen, you will never. I always try to help people navigate where they are. And you hear the phrase of meeting people where they are. It's tough. But I help people navigate that. And I go, yeah, people get, listen, in nutrition, coaching nutrition, people get hung up on breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm like, I change it now, and we do meal 1, 2, 3, 4,
I
whatever it
love
is.
that. I
We
love that.
just take this in because I'll have people that are like, I can't eat that. That's some breakfast. I'm like, no, it's not. That's an advertising term. That's a term that was made to help you buy more sausage and buy more eggs. That's an advertising term. We're going to
100%.
start. This is how we're going to retrain it until you can kind of grasp the concept. That that's a superpower at helping people understand like you don't have to pause. There's a lot of reasons why they want you to pause. And this is the last thing I was going to tell you to coattail off what you were saying is I've also helped and I've worked with clients that their trigger to their negatives is going and being around family. And I've
Mm.
helped coach people through like, don't take off this year. Go to the beach. Go do something else. And
Oh
I
yeah.
travel I started traveling for the holidays back in the 90s. And I was fortunate my wife, the people I'm dating, all the things. That's just something I do. And
I love that.
I don't try to get wrapped up. I don't try to take on everybody else's problems. I learn what works for me, and I stick to that. And I will tell everyone like that's a superpower when if it's a negative environment that you're putting yourself in, change it. You don't have to go do holidays.
Yeah.
You
What's the
can,
point?
yeah, yeah. You don't go be
Especially
miserable.
if it's negative on all accounts, like if the people hosting, they're dreading it, so and so's
I cook
coming.
all this food. Yeah.
Right, right. And the people that are coming, oh, so and so's going to be there. They're going to be talking this shit. It's like, wait a minute. If we're all on the same page,
Elijah's gonna
this
show
isn't
up
going to
with
be a
his
good
freaking
time.
fitness ideas. Elijah's gonna show up. All he's gonna want to do is do push-ups. He don't even drink anymore. He's so right?
Right. He's going to be weighing out the food. Just
Don't be
enjoy it.
weighing. He's gonna show up with a freaking postal scale, start weighing everything out like he's a drug dealer or something.
That's hilarious. Yeah, exactly. It's like,
Oh, it's so good.
if it's not going to be a
Um,
good time, don't go.
Yeah, don't go do something different. I mean,
Yeah.
I've met some cool people just traveling during the holidays too. You'd be surprised the number of people just getting away from their crazy families. I could probably do on the road podcast during the holidays
There you
with
go.
people that are they're escaping.
Y'all are all on
Um,
the same page. It's like, yeah, I know why you're here.
yeah, exactly. And my friend, blow my friend's mind is just they don't. It's for them. It's Christmas is baby Jesus free down the steps, stockings hung. It's a tradition, right? And they're like, you don't like Christmas and Jesus, no things. And this, and I'm like, no. You can do that anywhere. You don't have to. You don't have to be in your own home. You can do that. The Residence Inn, the perfect place to do that. Tell me anything big you're working on. Any personal projects or goals that you're working on, and then anything you got coming down the pipe you want to share with us before we wrap up.
Yeah, as far as in my local area here in Raleigh, North Carolina, like I said, was that 5 or 6 months ago at this point, I started training independently out of a gym, Archetype Strength, in Raleigh. There's 3 different locations in the Triangle area. So I train clients out of there. Anyone that's in the area, definitely shoot me a DM on Instagram and we'll get a conversation going, hopefully get you your first workout, and then building out my roster for my online clients. It's a little different than my in-person. I do their training, I do their nutrition, their macros, and then we get on a weekly Zoom call, which am a, I really like that because, how do I put this? A lot of personal training clients, they are okay with working out, checking the box. It's kind of like the Christian that goes to church on Sundays, and then the rest of the week they're doing whatever, right?
Yeah.
Monday through Saturday, then Sunday, oh, I'm a good Christian, I'm going to church.
Yeah.
It can kind of be that way with some, not all, but some in-person personal training clients. When someone comes in my online community, now we're talking every day. It's a lot harder to escape. Just before we got on this podcast, one of my guys messaged me. He said, dude, I'm just laying in bed watching TV, haven't left to go to the gym yet, kind of getting back to my old habits. And I was like, it's time to go create a motherfucker that you admire. Let's go.
Yeah.
Get out of bed. Create someone
Out of
that you
bed.
have never met. Create someone that you've never seen in your life right now. And he's like, all right, let's go. That is a little harder to do with some in-person people, or it can be. So I'm really excited about what I have going on with my online community, all my online clients. They're training. Everyone's making gains. Everyone's setting PRs every single week. I'm monitoring their nutrition on a daily basis. So it's really about steering them in the right direction and steering them away from the wrong direction. It's way more about those two things than getting overly fancy or overly complicated with the training methodology. But yeah, so any one of those two avenues, if that's available and accessible for anyone, DM me on Instagram and we'll get it going.
Tell Instagram's the best way to get in touch with you. What's your username?
Oak City Strong. That's Oak City Strong on Instagram, YouTube, all the apps. I'm active on all of them, but Instagram and YouTube are definitely the two biggest ones.
Yeah, Instagram. Instagram is the probably the best way to get in touch with most of my guests as well. And I'm the
Yeah,
same way. I kind of choked it down. I tried them all. Instagram's probably I like looking at pictures and scrolling funny reels too. So yeah, when I'm on there posting, it makes it easier for me to communicate.
100%.
Um, dude, I want to tell you thank you for coming on. The what folks would hope, and as you're listening and learning more about me and what I do, is I love helping people. I'm a connector of people, and this is one of those episodes where it's going to reach a lot of people, and people are going to know Elijah, and they're going to know me. My friends listen to this, and this is what I don't want you all to take for granted is in fitness is if your authority transfers, if you know this conversation is good, send it to a friend that needs to hear it. If you know that if you're working with Elijah and you're like, man, this guy's helping change my life, listen, you just sharing Elijah, your success with Elijah, sharing that with a friend will bring more people to him. And it's going to help him reach his goals and be a successful coach and business owner. But the thing you'll find in fitness is we love helping people. And and versus us trying to stumble and find and look is make sure people out there that have thrown their hands up and they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they're looking for new routines and they're looking for whatever is anything that you all can do. Because that's the power of the coach. We take that all the fight, all the crap, all the things that I have dealt with, all the things that Elijah's dealt with, and that we've overcome. And we have figured out a lot of things that you can deploy inside of your life. And not all of them work, but we can help tailor those things that what do. And we can accelerate, we collapse time so you can reach those goals. I stumbled my way through trying to figure out fitness on my own. And once I found Fit Body Boot Camp, I bought into it so much that I ultimately owned one, right? I've shared that. And it's a coaching program. So I don't want to continue to ramble, but I want you all to know how much it would be um, appreciated just to get this episode into the right people's hands so Elijah can continue his training and help reach his personal goals as well. So thank you for coming on, brother. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother.